Teddy Cruz, learning from shantytowns. While most architects seek to build, Teddy Cruz seeks to create the economic, social, and political foundation for building to happen on. He calls himself a facilitator, designing urban systems, but not the megasystems of contemporary urban planning. His work is on a smaller scale, a social scale. He proposes that the high-density nature of shantytowns provides a better system of urbanization than the typical American suburb. Where others see poverty and decay, he sees a social and architectural model to be harnessed. He works on projects mainly along the U.S.-Mexican border, focusing on the impact of architecture and urban planning on socioeconomic conditions. He has been studying and theorizing these border conditions for over a decade now, which has recently led to building several projects.
Teddy Cruz's inspiration comes from the fast-developing areas between San Diego, California, and Tijuana, Mexico. Here are some of the richest real estates in the world. It's just 20 minutes away from some of the poorest. In these shanty towns, the houses are made out of concrete blocks, sheets of congregated metal, garage doors, and even packing crates. Retaining walls along the sloping landscape are built out of reused tires, and perhaps the strangest sight is California bungalow-style homes resting on one-story steel frames. These are houses from the first wave of modern suburbia, destined for demolition, salvaged and brought to these border cities, gaining new life. The void below allows for high-density urbanization as well as space for economic and social activity. This typology is by far Teddy Cruz's most useful inspiration.
The starting point for his work is to understand the current fundamental differences between the two ideas on opposite sides of the socioeconomic border. On one hand is the top-down framework for development based on economic capital. It is market-owned, funded by large loans feeding individual profits, with the generic consumer creating a density of maximum units with minimum public infrastructure. On the other hand is the bottom-up framework that Teddy Cruz idealizes, with social and cultural value as the driving force of the neighborhood. It is neighborhood-owned, geared towards community profit. Density is rethought of as maximum social exchanges per area rather than maximum units. To mend the broken system, Cruz proposes a process of reform with the input of nonprofit organizations, community participants, the municipality, financial institutions, and the architect. The first step is for the nonprofit organization and the architect to coordinate mapping and documentation of non-conforming homes and mixed-use buildings. City Hall then legalizes non-conforming units through an affordable housing overlay zone and authorizes their reconstruction. The next step is the design and production of plug-in additions. The municipality prepackages construction permits and allows the nonprofit and the architect to manage the process. Finally, the nonprofit manages subsidies and microcredits by breaking large construction loans. Community residents partner with the organization to co-own resources.
Two projects in which Teddy Cruz has turned his theory into practice are in San Ysidro, an American city just north of the border. The city is a low-income area, primarily made up of immigrants from Mexico. Working with the community based on organization Casa Familiar, Cruz created two systems of high-density housing on underutilized sites. The first of these projects is called Senior Housing with Childcare. Here, instead of one large building, he created 13 small flats. The units are threaded by shared kitchens, gardens, and a child center, and co-managed by the seniors living there.
The second project is titled Living Rooms at the Border. It takes a small lot with an existing church and layers it with different housing typologies within a network of social spaces. The church is retrofitted as a community center where the nonprofit organization will generate socioeconomic programs. Open-frame structures are made equipped with electricity, shared kitchens, and movable furniture. These also foster cultural programming and public interaction. The first housing type is for young couples or single parents. The second typology is live-work duplexes for artists. Artists provide social services in exchange for rent. The third housing type is for large families. These are equipped with shared kitchens to support two small extended families. Adjacent to these are accessory buildings that serve as alternative housing. They become flexible spaces for extended families. One is for a gardener who works with inhabitants to maintain community gardens.
These projects create a new type of urbanism at the scale of the neighborhood. They redefine density as an amount of social exchanges per acre and housing a system of interaction. But Teddy Cruz's template is not just for the border. Another project he proposed was for Hudson, New York, a predominantly well-off area but with pockets of poverty. Here he held workshops with nonprofits and local immigrants to design a system of developments aimed to enriching and reintegrating the poor community. Through his work, Teddy Cruz creates a solution for the depressing model of a small-town American suburbia. He weaves together housing and community programs to create a rich urban fabric at a small scale with a high density.